Welcome to another lesson. Today we'll be discussing the law of contract with particular emphasis on offer and acceptance. The objective of this lesson is to discuss the formation of a contract, how a contract is formed. Second, we'll be looking at the differences between a bilateral contract and a unilateral contract. We'll further be looking at the distinction between an offer and an invitation to treat. Now, all contracts are agreements, but not all agreements are contracts. Without prejudice to the generality of the above statement, this statement marks an underlying feature that defines and explains the nature of the law of contracts. Permit me to walk you through this journey as we examine key concepts in the law of contracts, such as offer, invitation to treat, bilateral, and unilateral contracts. Now, as a starting point, before delving into offer and acceptance, it is critical that we first understand the difference between a unilateral contract and a bilateral contract. A bilateral contract arises when the parties to the contract, most often referred to as an offeror and offeree, independently agree to fulfill a contractual obligation set by the said parties. So, for example, Sia offers to sell an iPhone to Wallace, which he accepts to buy. At this point, it suffices to say that both parties have assumed a contractual obligations set by them. By contrast, a unilateral contract arises only when one party assumes an obligation under the contract. In other words, it is usually the party making the offer who assumes an obligation or takes full responsibility for the promise made in the absence of any bargaining process that would have otherwise been present in a bilateral contract. Now, the famous case used in almost every contract law class to illustrate this concept has been the case of Khalil against Carbolic Smokeball, 1893. Now, a brief summary of the facts of this case. There was an advertisement made by the defendant which states that if anyone used their smoke ball for a specified time and still caught flu, they would be rewarded $100. To back that, they had deposited $1,000 with the bank. Now, the principle that emerged from this case is that the advertisement constituted a unilateral offer made to the world, for which the only mode of acceptance required was the performance in accordance with the stipulated offer. And now to the difference between an offer and an invitation to treat. A offer or a statement can only be construed as an offer if it can be determined or the statement indicate that there was a clear intention to be bound once accepted. An invitation to treat is an illustration of the statement maker's willingness to invite offerers or outsiders to make an offer based on probably an advertisement that is made by the statement maker. In order to distinguish an offer and an invitation to treat, aside from the definition, much depends on whether the language used demonstrates a definite promise to be bound. Now, in the case of Gibson against Manchester City, the issue came up whether there was a statement made by the council amounted to an offer. Now, a summary of the fact, the issue was whether the defendant's statement may be prepared to sell the house to you at the purchase price constituted an offer. Now, in this case, it was held that the statement may be prepared to sell the house to you at the purchase price amounted to an invitation to treat, since the language used indicated no clear intention to be bound upon acceptance. Now, however, note that there are also recognized cases in which the courts have maintained that certain promises are invitation to treat, such as advertisements, tender, and auction. Although there are also exceptions which I can only fully deal with in a separate lesson. Stay blessed. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Law Basket, for more content. And don't forget also to comment and like.